Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst, where the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanesan.
And I'm Thiruni Karunaratna. Here are tonight's top stories.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
For sports items, B2B.Healthcare.
President reaffirms zero tolerance stand against drug traffickers and the underworld.
තෝරගන්න පාරවල් දෙකයි තියෙන්නේ. එක්ක ගනුදෙනු අත්තරින්න, එක්ක රාජකාරීන් අත්වෙන්න. කුඩු ව්‍යාපාරිකයන් පාතාලයන් සමග ගනුදෙනු කරමින් රාජකාරිය කරන්න කිසිත් මිඩක් නොදෙන බව සාතික කරනවා.
2026 National Housing Program kicks off in Misale, Jaffna. Defeat Ditwa, Labour drive from Badulla to Walapane. 3 wanted suspects, including 2 fugitives, brought back to Sri Lanka from Dubai. Teachers, parents call for new education reforms, deliver collective message to the ministry. Former South Korean leader receives prison sentence.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
For garden tools, B2B.Healthcare.
On to those stories in detail. President Andra Kumara Dissanayake emphasized in Jaffna that the people of Sri Lanka have established a government that does not provide protection to drug traffickers or underworld groups. The president stated that eliminating drug addiction is not an initiative that will be reversed under any circumstance.
The Northern Province program of the nationwide national operation to eradicate dangerous drugs was held at the Jaffna College of Technology grounds. The president, who attended the inauguration, received a warm welcome from those present. A number of officials, including Minister of Public Security Ananda Vijaypala, Ministry Secretary Ravi Senaviratna, Defence Secretary Retired Air Vice Marshal Sampattu Ekonta, and Inspector General of Police Attorney Priyantha Veerasurya participated in the event. At the ceremony, the President also presented certificates of appreciation to police officers of the Northern Province in recognition of their contribution to anti-narcotics operations.
Let me give you one assurance. The people of this country have built a government that will not protect drug traffickers or members of the underworld. It has been revealed that at times, leaders of institutions responsible for maintaining discipline had dealings with such individuals. There have been instances where those who should have been arrested were instead released due to manipulated evidence. Institutions responsible for upholding the law had been brought under the control of those occupying the highest seats of authority. I assure you that our Defence Secretary, our Secretary of Public Security, our Inspector General of Police and the heads of our tri-forces will not fall victim to the influence of the underworld or drug traffickers. They are prepared to carry out this task. For years, certain officials were bought over. For years, some of them worked under the influence of these groups. Today, that system has completely changed. The mechanism for arrests has been cleaned up. However, we still receive reports from certain places. I ask all officers, please abandon such dealings. There are only 2 paths before you. Either give up such connections or step away from your duties. No one will be allowed to perform official duties while colluding with drug traffickers or underworld figures. Should this menace be defeated? Yes, it must be. The political authority will give full leadership to this initiative without fear, without bowing to intimidation or threats. We will eradicate these armed criminal groups and drug networks from our country. I assure you, we will do this. And we need your support.
The president emphasized that there is absolutely no room for any form of racial conflict to re-emerge in the country.
යලි මේ රට කිසිසේත්ම ජාතිවාදී ගැටුමකට නොයන
This country will never again descend into racial conflict. We must build a nation grounded in national unity, brotherhood and mutual respect. Therefore, we will not allow any form of racism to rise again anywhere in this country. I am aware that in certain places, small sparks of racial tensions are being stirred. Conflicts are occurring around religious sites. On Poya days, some individuals bypass numerous temples and the sacred Sri Mahabodhi, travelling all the way to Jaffna to observe Sil. They do not go there for religious observances, they go with hostility in their hearts. Every Poya day, they gather near temples, not for land disputes, but purely to fuel racial sentiments. I instructed our intelligence units to investigate whether those who come there during every Poya day actually own any land in the area. Groups who have lost political power are trying to revive racism in small pockets across the country. We will not allow any racist tendency to lift its head again. We do not want a country where people fight. We want a country where people live as brothers and sisters with love and trust towards one another. We need young people who look at others with compassion, not hatred. We have already initiated a series of measures to achieve this. We must remove the mindset that views others with hostility. We must build a society filled with empathy, kindness and genuine care for one another.
The president stressed that the trust placed in the current government by the people will never be allowed to break.
I
assure you that the trust you have placed in us will never be broken. For the first time, you have placed faith in a government. In the past, how was it in the north? Always opposed to the government. What was the belief in Jaffna? That there is a Sinhala government in the south, so the north needed a Tamil government. The people in the north never felt that the southern government represented them. But let me tell you something. Even the people in the south did not feel that the southern government represented them. It was not a government for the north or the south. It was a government created to serve the interests of a few privileged families, for their friends, their associates and their relatives. That is the history of governments in Sri Lanka. For the first time, a government of the people has been formed in this country. You who live here in Jaffna must trust that this is your government. And the people of the south feel the same. For the first time, a government has been established that is respected and embraced by all. The north, the south, the east, Sinhalese, Tamils and Muslims. That is the most important transformation. We must have confidence in moving forward. I know you trust us. And now we have a new opportunity. For the first time in Sri Lanka, a government trusted by all its people has been created. That is the foundation on which we will build our country. And on that foundation, we will uplift this nation.
The inauguration ceremony of the 2026 National Housing Programme was held today in the village of Misale, Chavakacheri, under the patronage of President Anurakumara Dissanayake. Under the theme, A Place of One's Own, A Beautiful Life, the programme includes the construction of 31,218 houses across the country. At today's inauguration, 2,500 families in the northern and eastern provinces who continue to remain without proper housing due to the war will be provided with new homes. Symbolizing the commencement of this initiative, the President laid the foundation stone for a new house this morning in the J/318 Gramaniladari division of Misale, Chavakacheri. Later addressing the ceremony, President Anurakumara Dissanayake stated that the government is taking steps to resolve the housing issues of all individuals displaced by the war.
We have planned a major sports complex in Jaffna. Some land-related issues have arisen, and I discussed them with the district secretary yesterday. We will resolve them quickly and complete the project within this year. We want to create spaces where children can play, enjoy life and find happiness. We also planned an indoor sports stadium in the Jaffna town. However, certain politicians have filed a court case against this project. Does Jaffna's youth need such a facility? Yes, they do. So why file cases against it? This shows a form of politics that works against the people. We will expedite the legal process and complete the indoor sports stadium either at the proposed location or a suitable nearby site within this year.
As
the president departed following the ceremony, he was greeted with a warm and welcoming response from the public. President Anurukumara Dissanayake visited the Nagadeepa Historic Vihara in Jaffna this afternoon to pay homage. Upon his arrival, the president was blessed by the chief incumbent of the temple, Venerable Navandagala Padumathera. Following the religious observances, the president also engaged in a brief cordial discussion with the chief incumbent.
Meanwhile, the determination labour mission Let's Defeat Ditwa was launched this morning at the Valapane Youth Coast Stadium, marking the beginning of a 4-day nationwide labour effort stretching from Badulla to Valapane. The programme will run from today until the 19th, mobilising more than 1,000 state officials alongside a large number of local residents.
The initiative was inaugurated under the leadership of Minister of Plantation and Community Infrastructure Samantha Vidyaratna and Deputy Minister of Education Dr. Madhura Senaviratna. Through the Determination Labour Mission Let's Defeat Ditwa community-driven mission, authorities aim to rebuild 4 divisional secretariat areas in the Nuwara district: Valapane, Hanguranketa, Mathurata and Nildanda Hinna. The coordinated effort includes restoring damaged roads to enable vehicle movement, repairing destroyed canals and irrigation structures, preparing farmland so farmers can resume cultivation, converting storm-damaged schools back into functional learning environments.
By today, we have lost 647 lives. Thousands of houses have been completely flattened, some reduced to debris, some simply missing. Certain homes, bridges, roads, tanks, anicuts and even transformers cannot be located. The National Building Research Organization has recommended that several schools be entirely removed due to structural risks. This is an immense tragedy, causing economic losses that cannot yet be fully measured. This is what Ditwa has brought upon us. But no disaster can defeat our country's determination. The President has opened the doors of the Treasury. In the past, those doors were not opened for the people. They were opened only for certain groups. Many citizens never expected this change. Today, the doors were opened so children could receive their books and farmers could receive compensation. When large sums such as 5 million rupees or 10 million rupees were given previously, they were not given to ordinary people. This is a first in our history. We acknowledge and appreciate this, and we honor the public service that stands with the nation. Today, 1,003 public servants have gathered here. During the Cyclone Ditwa, tremendous strength emerged. Courageous plans were developed and given strong leadership. The mission in Valapane reflects that same determination, rebuilding breached tanks, restoring damaged paddy fields, and reversing the destruction caused by Ditwa. This labour mission must transform this disaster into an opportunity. The President has named this effort Rebuilding Sri Lanka, not just casually, but because the national leadership recognizes the need to rebuild the country. This is the turning point. This is the moment.
For sports items, b2b.lk.
News First with the people.
Two fugitives who had fled to Dubai and a woman accused of financial fraud were brought back to Sri Lanka by the Criminal Investigation Department. Police stated that further questioning of the suspects has already commenced.
Early this morning, the three suspects were escorted back to the country from Dubai through the Bandara International Airport under tight security measures. A six-member CID team working in collaboration with the Abu Dhabi International Police had taken the trio into custody during a coordinated overseas operation. According to police, one of the suspects, Kiriyaldeniye Don Rasika Chaminda Kumara, also known as Chuti Malli, has an open warrant issued against him in connection with a murder case being handled by the Kandana police. He is a resident of the Kandana area and has now been handed over to the Kalaniya Crimes Division for continued investigations. The second male suspect, Ravin Chaminda Veerasinghe, also known as Puncha, is required for multiple serious charges including homicide in the Alpitia area. A resident of Urugas Manghandia, he is believed to be connected to organized criminal gangs. Investigations relating to him will be carried out under the supervision of the Alpitia Senior Superintendent of Police. The third suspect, Heva Kasakara Rupa Nishamani De Silva, is wanted in connection with the misappropriation of state funds in 2014 during her tenure as an accounts clerk at the Sri Lankan Embassy in Abu Dhabi. The 56-year-old resident of Mount Lavinia has been handed over to the CID for further inquiries.
විදේශ රටක සිට ජාලගත අපරාධ මෙහෙවන අපරාධ කරුවන් මේ වන විට රාශියක් අපි හඳුනාගෙන තියෙනවා. ඔවුන් සඳහා රතු නිවේදන 95ක් මේ වන විට නිකුත් කිරීම සඳහා අපි කටයුතු කරලා තියෙනවා. ඔබ කුමන රටක සිටියත් කුමන විදේශයක සැඟවී සිටියත් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අධිකරණයේ මගහැර සිටිනවා නම් ඒ සඳහා කිසිදු අවස්ථාවක් ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ. විශේෂයෙන් ඊටම මෑත කාලයේදී අපිට මේ සියලුම සැකකරුවන් ලංකාවට ගෙන්වා ගැනීමට අපිට හැකියාව ලැබිලා තියෙනවා.
A fundamental rights petition filed by a lawyer in Kandy seeking a ruling that the failure to take necessary steps to minimize the disaster caused by Cyclone Ditwa resulted in a violation of fundamental human rights has been fixed for the 15th of July by the Supreme Court. Now, this petition filed by attorney at law Kirti Bandara Kiridena is scheduled to be heard before a Supreme Court bench comprising Chief Justice Preeti Padman Surasena and Justice Achala Bengapule.
Appearing on behalf of the petitioner, President's Counsel Upul Jayasuriya informed the court that the Department of Meteorology had issued forecasts from the 12th of November onwards, indicating that rainfall conditions could intensify during the relevant period. He stated by the morning of the 27th of November, the increase in rainfall was clearly evident. However, without due consideration of this situation, the sudden opening of the spill gates of the Kutmale Reservoir at around 11:10 p.m. that night released a massive surge of water. As a result, by around 3 a.m. the following day, the Gampola area had been completely submerged. He further noted that after Gampola, the areas of Gelioya, Peradeniya and Kandy were also progressively inundated. The President's Counsel alleged that although the Meteorological Department had already issued forecasts, the authorities acted negligently. He argued that this clearly demonstrated their failure to take timely action. Respondents named in the petition include the Attorney General on behalf of the President, Prime Minister Harun Yamarasuriya, members of the Cabinet and members of the National Disaster Management Committee, among others. The petitioner's counsel stated that his law office, located near the Kandy Court complex, was completely destroyed due to the recent storms and flooding. As a result, a significant amount of important data stored within the officer's computer system had been lost, causing substantial damage to his professional work. The petition further claims that the destructive situation arose due to the negligence or dereliction of duty by the respondents who failed to take the necessary measures before the disaster occurred. It also states that if they had prepared and acted in advance, much of the damage could have been prevented.
The second phase of the LOLC Devi Savia You, Me, Our Nation social welfare program took place for the 13th consecutive day, focusing on schools in the Badulla and Kandy districts. Under this phase, 200 schools damaged by Cyclone Ditwa are being repaired.
The LOLC Divisavia You, Me, Our Nation social welfare program consists of 3 phases. During the first phase, conducted over 10 days, essential dry rations and other necessities were distributed to families whose homes were completely destroyed by Cyclone Ditwa. The second phase commenced with the objective of reconstructing 200 damaged schools. This phase will continue over the next several days across 3 provinces and 6 districts. This morning, the newly reconstructed buildings at the Vidyananda Buddhist Primary School in the Kandy district and Yala Arava Central College in the Valimada Divisional Secretariat area of the Badulla district, both affected by the disaster, were officially handed over to the students. Additionally, the reconstructed building at the Ududumbara Sarath Ekanayaka Primary School, located within the Teldedian Divisional Secretariat area of the Kandy district, was handed over to the students this afternoon. The LOLC Divi Savia program is carried out entirely for the betterment of our people.
Raju Bandara, born in the early 1960s, mastered the art of singing, a talent passed down from his mother, and earned a lasting place in the hearts of fans well into the 21st century. His final rites will be held tomorrow evening at the Boralla General Cemetery.
Born on April 14, 1960 in Kegol, Raju Bandara was the youngest son of the renowned singer Chandra Bandara, a highly skilled guitarist. He made a special mark in the world of band music, serving as a permanent member of groups such as Bandara and The Fortunes. He often performed alongside his mother, including the timeless song Hadagi Pote, creating cherished memories that spanned generations. His brother, veteran musician
Customs has surpassed its January targets with 66% achieved in just 13 days.
Sri Lanka Customs has kicked off 2026 with a remarkable revenue surge, collecting 106.6 billion rupees within the first 13 days of January, far outperforming early month projections. According to official data, this figure amounts to over 66% of the monthly target of 160.2 billion rupees, marking one of the strongest opening performances in recent years.
A group of parents, teachers and concerned citizens handed over a letter to the Ministry of Education urging the immediate implementation of the new education reforms.
Parents of children who passed grade 5 and are due to enter grade 6 this year gathered outside the Ministry of Education, staging a protest calling for the reforms to be introduced from this academic year itself.
එක එක මිනිස්සුන්ට ඕන විදිහට අපි දරුවන් එක්ක සෙල්ලම් කරන්න බෑ. කරුණා කරලා මේ ක්‍රමවේදේ හැකි ඉක්මනින් අපේ දරුවන්ට ආයි ලබා දෙන්න ඕනේ. අපි කැමති නෑ 2,30,000ක් විතර දරුවෝ ඉන්නවා ලංකාවේ හයි ශ්‍රේණියට යන්න. ඒ දරුවන්ගේ අනාගතේ විනාශ කරන්න අපි කැමති නෑ. මේක ඇවිල්ලා අවුරුදු 6ක් 7ක් තිස්සේ ආණ්ඩු කිහිපයක් තිස්සේ මේක ඇවිල්ලා අවසාන මොහොතේ මේක අකුල ගත්තා කියන්නේ ඒක අපේ දරුවන්ට අසාධාරණයක්. කරුණා කරලා ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ ප්‍රශ්න ඕගොල්ලන් විසඳන්න හැකි ඉක්මනින් අපේ දරුවන්ට මේ ක්‍රමවේදය යටතේ ඉගෙන ගන්න ඈසි කරන්න.
මගේ දරුවා මේ සැරේ 6 වසරට යන්නේ. ඒ වගේම මම ගුරුවරියක්. අපි 2019 ඉඳලා මේ සම්බන්ධව පුහුණු වීම විවිධ ආයතන මගින් කරා. ඒ වගේමයි ලංකාවේ තෝරාගත්ත පාසල් කිහිපයක නියදි පරීක්ෂණ කරා. එතකොට ඉංග්‍රීසි පොතේ 51 වෙනි පිටුවේ තියෙන වැරැද්දක් නිසා අපේ දරුවෝ ආපස්සට යන්න ඕනේද? ගුරුවරියක් විදියට දුෂ්කර පාසල් වල සේවය කරන මම දැකලා තියෙනවා ගණිතය අසමත් වෙලා දරුවෝ හැලිලා යනවා. ඒ ගැන කිසිම අවධානයක් මේ වෙනකන් කිසිම රජයක් කරලා නැහැ. මේ 2026 දරුවන්ට මේ අධ්‍යාපනය නතර කරන්න එපා කියන ඉල්ලීම කරන්න. මොකද මම කැමති නැහැ ගිරා පොතක විහිවෙනවට.
A written request containing these demands was handed over to the ministry. A parallel protest took place in Madirigiriya Polonnaruwa, with participants declaring that they were demonstrating in support of the Colombo protest. In Malimbada Matara, parents too gathered outside the local council, demanding that the new education reforms be restored.
Prime Minister Dr. Haruni Amarasuriya says that positive transformations being made to the education sector are being met by countless opposition, adding that the educational reforms she initiated to create an advanced social citizen that the country needs will never stop.
A briefing was held today under the patronage of Prime Minister Dr. Haruni Amarasuriya to inform the authorities of the Chilo education zone on the upcoming educational reforms.
My officers, principals, teacher advisors and all those in the teacher education service are very positive about this transformation. If there are any problems, we are ready to resolve them in the future. We were ready then, we are ready today and we are ready tomorrow.
We have been working on these education reforms with great enthusiasm. We have not taken a step back. If a pilot project is to be implemented this year, we request that it be given to our region as we are so well prepared for it. In the past, various projects were brought by different governments. Some programs centered on physical resource development. But this is a transformational change. Apart from those who speak with vested political interests that we see in the media, I think the vast majority understands this very well. Therefore, I would like to remind you that as principals, going forward, we are ready to work diligently towards the success of these educational reforms.
මේ කතා සියල්ලම අහගෙන ඉන්නකොට ඇත්තටම ආඩම්බරයකුත් දැනුණා. අධ්‍යාපන ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණ වෙනුවෙන් කොච්චරක් හොඳට සංවිධානය වෙමින් තිබ්බද කියන එක ගැන. ඉතින් මේක අපි කිසිසේත්ම පස්සට දාලා නැහැ.
The new batch of grade 1 students will commence term on the 29th of January. The teachers who have been trained for this need to commence work on this day. The students will receive their textbooks as well on the 29th. Our plans for this year have not changed. This includes the plans for teacher training as well. These plans are being executed with much more vigor than other days. We have postponed the reforms for grade 6 until 2027. The debate in this regard is necessary and it is important to consider the views of all. However, we oppose those who are trying to maim these reforms without any basis. We oppose those who are trying to fabricate rumors and sway public opinion regarding these reforms. We have heard of instances where unscrupulous individuals have approached parents of present students, trying to collect cash from them, saying that modern equipment like smart boards and computers are needed for these reforms and that they need to be funded by the parents.
We will not allow such acts. The government is intervening in a systematic manner towards this. We will not pass this burden to the parents. We are not doing these reforms to burden the parents. Through this, we are trying to alleviate the burdens they are already facing. During the first 2 to 3 months, we will introduce policies with regard to digital safety, online safety, and we will take measures to protect children from the dangers they face online. We feel these measures too are of vital importance when carrying out these education reforms. We are introducing smart classrooms with smart boards, not facts to be carried out in an ad hoc manner, rather to execute it with a solid structural framework. Therefore, the entire government is working courageously and resolutely to complete these reforms successfully with the aim that it will help create an advanced social citizen for the country. This is the need of the nation today. We will not look back or give up easily. We have come this far and we will continue this journey till the end. Good results are being seen with what has been done thus far. These results strengthen us and give us the motivation to drive this endeavour until fruition.
අධිෂ්ඨානයත් එක්ක තමයි අපි මේක කරගෙන යන්නේ. ඒ නිසා මේක කිසිසේත්ම අපි මේක පස්සට අරගෙන නැහැ. අපි මේක කරා, අපි තව දුරටත් කරනවා, අපි ඒක ඉදිරියටම යනවා. මේ කරපු හැම දෙයකම ප්‍රතිඵල තියෙනවා. ඒක අපි ශක්තිමත්ව ඉදිරියට යන එකම තමයි කරන්නේ.
The Seoul Central District Court sentenced former President Yoon Suk-yeol to a 5-year prison term for obstructing investigators' attempts to detain him last year. Now, this marked the first verdict on the cases stemming from his 2024 failed declaration of martial law.
South Korea's special counsel Cho Yun-suk had sought a combined sentence of 10 years for Yoon, including 5 years of resisting arrest, 2 years for revising the martial law decree after the fact, and 3 years for infringing on cabinet members' deliberation rights, spreading false information to foreign media, and destroying evidence. In the aftermath of Yoon's 2024 martial law decree, the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials attempted to arrest Yoon in January 2025. Yoon then mobilized the Presidential Security Service and the police force to blockade his residence. Yoon claimed that the CIO lacked the jurisdiction to investigate charges of insurrection. The court, however, ruled that the CIO acted under valid warrant for search and arrest. Friday's ruling is expected to serve as a precedent on the legality of the initial probe into Yoon's alleged insurrection. Aside from Friday's sentence, Yoon faces 7 more trials, with the next sentencing on Yoon's insurrection charge scheduled for 19th of February.
A confidential order shows that India has issued a final warning to Apple that it will proceed in an antitrust case against the US tech giant as the company has delayed responses to officials for over a year and undermined the investigations.
Apple has said it fears it could be fined up to $38 billion if India's competition watchdog uses its global turnover calculation for penalties after an investigation found it had abused its position on its App Store. Apple, which denies the allegations, has challenged the penalty rules in a court and the matter is pending. While the Delhi High Court is still hearing that challenge, a confidential 31st December order from the Competition Commission of India, or CCI, shows Apple privately sought to pause the entire case while the penalty rules dispute is before the court. The CCI had rejected the request. The watchdog said it asked Apple in October 2024 to file objections to the investigation's findings and provide financial details typically used to assess penalties. But the company has received repeated extensions since then.
Iran is facing its most volatile moment in years as deadly anti-government protests shake the country and draw sharp warnings from the United States. Now, while authorities claim the unrest is easing after mass pro-government rallies, reports from inside Iran paint a far darker picture with thousands dead.
The protests erupted over public anger at political repression, economic hardship, and the killing of demonstrators by security forces. In recent days, internet restrictions and a heavy security presence have been imposed in the capital, contributing to the visible drop in street protests. Amid fears of wider instability, Iran briefly shut down its airspace for nearly 5 hours, disrupting flights across the Middle East. The closure was triggered by concerns over possible military action and growing regional tensions. Iran has since reopened its skies, but airlines remain cautious about operating in and out of the country. Washington has also imposed new sanctions on Iran, targeting senior figures it accuses of directing a brutal crackdown on demonstrators. The sanctions are designed to restrict travel, freeze assets, and increase pressure on Iran's leadership. On the ground, a senior commander of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says the country's armed forces are on high alert, underscoring fears of a potential confrontation. At least 2,435 people have been killed during more than 2 weeks of protests across the country. The White House says President Trump is closely monitoring a rapidly escalating situation overseas, warning of grave consequences if the violence continues and revealing that 800 scheduled executions were halted after a message from the U.S. president.
If the killing continues, there will be grave consequences, and the president received a message, as he revealed to all of you and the whole world yesterday, that the killing and the executions will stop. And the president understands today that 800 executions that were scheduled and supposed to take place yesterday were halted. And so the president and his team are closely monitoring this situation, and all options remain on the table for the president.
Netanyahu encouraged him against strikes.
Look, it's true that President spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu, but I would never details about their conversation without giving the expressed approval by the president himself.
The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting to discuss deadly protests in Iran amid threats by United States President Donald Trump to intervene militarily in the country. Members of the influential 15-member UN body heard from Iran's deputy UN representative, who warned at the meeting on Thursday that Iranians did not seek a confrontation but would respond to US aggression, and accused Washington of direct involvement in steering unrest in Iran.
Soldiers from France, Germany and other European countries have begun arriving in Greenland to help boost the Arctic island's security. After talks involving Denmark, Greenland and the United States highlighted fundamental disagreement between President Donald Trump's administration and its European allies.
A small French military contingent has arrived in Greenland's capital Nuuk as several European states deploy small numbers in a so-called reconnaissance mission. The limited deployment, which also involves Germany, Sweden, Norway, Finland, the Netherlands and the UK, comes as US President Donald Trump continues to press his claim to the Arctic island, which is a semi-autonomous part of Denmark. Trump, meanwhile, doubled down on his bid to bring Greenland under US control, telling reporters in the Oval Office, quote-unquote, "We need Greenland for national security." Although he did not rule out the use of force, he said late on Wednesday that he thought something could be worked out with Denmark. Speaking to reporters yesterday, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said she doesn't think the deployment of additional European troops to Greenland will impact the president's decision-making process on the Arctic territory. Russia's embassy in Belgium, meanwhile, expressed serious concern at what was unfolding in the Arctic, accusing NATO of building up a military presence there under the false pretext of a growing threat from Moscow and Beijing. However, the European NATO deployment consists of only a few dozen personnel as part of Danish-led joint exercises called Operation Arctic Endurance. While heavy in symbolism, it was not immediately clear how long they would stay. Finland is sending 2 liaison officers for what it said was a fact-finding mission during what was currently a planning stage of the operation.
In more international news, Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado presented her Nobel Peace Prize medal to US President Donald Trump during a private meeting at the White House, saying that the gesture was a sign of appreciation for his role in supporting Venezuela's struggle for freedom.
Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado says that she presented her Nobel Peace Prize medal to President Donald Trump at a private White House meeting on Thursday. After meeting President Donald Trump at the White House for the first time in person, Maria Corina Machado stepped outside and told supporters gathered at the gates, quote unquote, "I think today is a historic day for us Venezuelans. We can count on President Trump." The meeting came weeks after US forces seized Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in Caracas and charged him a drug trafficking case.
Did you offer to President Trump your Nobel Peace Prize?
I presented the President of the United States the medal of the Nobel Peace Prize.
Trump expressed his gratitude in a social media post, saying the move was quote-unquote a wonderful gesture of mutual respect. The US president has declined to endorse Machado, whose movement claimed victory in 2024's widely contested elections as Venezuela's new leader. Trump has instead been dealing with the acting head of state in Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, Maduro's former vice president. But he said in a meeting, Machado was a great honor, calling her quote-unquote a wonderful woman who has been through so much. Trump, who often speaks about his desire to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, had expressed displeasure when it was given to Machado, and she decided to accept the honor last year. Machado said last week that she would share it with Trump, but the Nobel Committee later clarified that it was not transferable. Machado also visited Congress to meet US senators during her visit to Washington, where her remarks to reporters were drowned out by supporters chanting quote-unquote Maria Presidente and waving Venezuelan flags.
Sri Lanka's premier long-distance cycling challenge, the Lanka Ride 2026, rode back to life today with its first stage ending in a stunning victory for Sri Lanka Army cyclist Sandaruwan Pintu. The event is being held for the first time in 21 years, marking a major comeback in the country's competitive cycling calendar.
The opening ceremony of Lanka Ride 2026 took place in Colombo this morning ahead of the start of Stage 1, which unfolded as a grueling mountain climb leg stretching from Colombo to Gannorua in Kandy. The flag-off took place in the presence of Ministers Sunil Kumar Gamage, Bimal Ratnayaka and Deputy Minister Sukat Tilakaratna. Cyclists were required to cover 106 kilometers, tackling the demanding ascents of Nelumdeniya, Utuankanda and Kadugannava, some of the steepest and most technical uphill sections in Sri Lanka's Central Highlands. Sandaruwan Pintu of the Sri Lanka Army dominated the climbs and crossed the finish line with a time of 2 hours 52 minutes and 41 seconds, securing the first place win. Close behind him was fellow Army cyclist Saranga Pereira. Third place was claimed by Dreshan Kavinda of the Jayala Flash Wheel Sports Club, completing a fiercely competitive opening stage. The excitement continues tomorrow with Stage 2, a 135.5 kilometer ride from Kandy to Anuradhapura, testing riders with long stretches of high-speed racing and endurance. The final showdown of the tournament, Stage 3, will take place on Sunday, covering a massive 208-kilometer route from Anuradhapura to Colombo, finishing at the iconic Independence Square.
A Sri Lankan Airlines Airbus A320, an aircraft that journeys across diverse destinations around the world, has been transformed into a distinguished promotional ambassador, artistically depicting Sri Lanka's living cultural heritage and the splendor of its traditional pageantry.
In celebration of the Colombo Nava Mahaperahara 2026, a religious and cultural festival revered both locally and internationally. This initiative aims to elevate the event of the level of a global cultural spectacle, while positioning the city of Colombo as a premier cultural and tourist destination. With those details, we end tonight's news bulletin.
Thank you for joining us.
Good night.
Happy Headlines. This specially adorned aircraft will carry the honor, grandeur and cultural identity of the Nava Mahaperahara across Sri Lankan Airlines international route network. This initiative positions the Nava Perahara not merely as a sacred Buddhist procession, but also as a major cultural and tourism attraction, while highlighting Colombo as a destination of heritage, harmony and tradition. The Gangaramaya Temple and the Navaperhara Committee have fully funded this international aviation promotional campaign, reflecting their deep commitment to safeguarding and promoting Sri Lanka's religious and cultural legacy on a global stage.